Hello, everyone. Greetings. Thank you for tuning in to a new episode of Waking Up with Matt. I know it's been a while since I've done a recent, fresh episode, but the struggle is real out there in finding trustworthy people. And many of you may not know this, but a lot of the activism world is kind of in muddy waters and a little hijacked, and it is difficult to find authenticity and real people. So I did find Andrew here, which while we're starting off, I want people to know that he has a really awesome TikTok channel called Cosmic Royalty 111. Is that right, Andrew?
That no, that's for the YouTube. The YouTube is the Cosmic Royalty 111, I
Oh,
think.
what's your TikTok channel?
Is it that? It's Cosmic Royalty, and there's a number. You're probably right. You're probably right. Probably 111, I think.
Yeah,
But
yeah. I just
there's
I
a
just looked
number.
it up because I didn't want to
Yeah, there's a
butcher it.
number there. Yeah.
But I'll have like some show notes when I have this in the link and like BitChute and stuff like that, and I'll make sure to put in what the YouTube is for people to find you and what the TikTok is. It's important to support the activism out there and follow and share and do all the stuff that we can while we can because who knows if we'll have these social media accounts in a few years, and it's important to plant these seeds and spread this truth while we can. So the story is I reached out to Andrew right after this Hurricane Melissa hit Western Jamaica a couple months ago, about a month and a half ago now, and or maybe 2 months. And the hurricane was obviously seemingly engineered. And Andrew had done this awesome video that went viral, calling out the engineering, the geoengineering of the hurricane, and talked about Project Popeye and whatnot, and what Jamaica's going through, and where we are in the world regarding truth and lies and politics and a lot of stuff. And so I saw this video that made it into my like Instagram world and Facebook world because I'm not really on TikTok. So the TikTok video started getting shared on other platforms. And then I tried to reach out to Andrew, but when I messaged him on TikTok, you can only do one message. So I was like, hi. And then it was like my second message wouldn't go through. So I had to find someone else to help hunt Andrew down. And I was so excited that we were able to get a hold of him because when we had our conversation the first time, I was like, oh man, I should have been recording this. And and Andrew was like, well, you're not recording this. And I was like, oh man, I should have been recording this because we really connected. It was like I felt like I had found I felt like I had found like a long lost friend or an ally or a brother or I felt like this I kind of like said some cheesy things even like I felt really connected all of a sudden to Andrew even though we've never met, but I do think that we will meet in person and I'll interview him hopefully for my sequel film FrankenSKIES 2 Climate Change that I'm still working on and hope to get out by the end of the year. So I'm gonna just pass it over to Andrew after I ask a couple questions about this Jamaica situation. So what's really fascinating to me about, or not fascinating, but intriguing, whatever same word, what's happening in Jamaica right now is very important for the rest of the world and how things are going to roll out regarding smart cities, Agenda 2030, totalitarianism, technocracy, New World Order agenda, Agenda 21, all these things that we wish were just conspiracy, but they're rearing their ugly head and showing themselves to be true. These words were thrown around like a decade ago, Agenda 2030 and all this, and we're like, oh no, and even transhumanism, like, oh, how could that possibly happen? But now with like Elon Musk and Neuralink and smart cities and digital IDs, like the transhuman, all these things that seem like a distant potential science fiction future, they're coming to reality. And come to find out, science fiction as a genre, even back before movies, was created by Tavistock to implant in our head this idea, this notion that this dystopian future is like cool or something like that, because we are the creator manifestors and they, the powers that be, know that, which was really fascinating. So, anyways, Jamaica, which is it could be in full sustainability in my opinion. I mean, you've got the the abundance of the ocean and the tropics, and you can grow anything like year round, as far as I know. And if you can, as a new world order, like taking over like evil, like that wants to spread around the world, if you can convince the people of Jamaica that they need um, Big Brother taking care of them in smart cities and whatnot, and you can take from them the knowledge of taking care of themselves and force it like push them into digital currency, digital ID, and what have you as a test city because I see it's happening in the Philippines too, where it's tropical there and they can grow their own food. But as a test city or test country, if Jamaica can be pushed into this technocracy, then it's like a pilot city, a pilot country test run, it seems. So if it can happen in Jamaica, it can pretty much happen anywhere. So I saw this thing called Vision 2030. I mean, Agenda 2030, Vision 2030, where Jamaica plans to transform Kingston into a fully digital smart city by 2030. They want to have a national ID system called NIDS, which is, I guess, digital, and even have a digital currency. And so, what's up, Andrew? How's it going in Jamaica? First off, how is the relief happening? Is there relief coming in? Is the relief flowing in from Melissa? How's everybody doing from that hurricane?
Well, to tell you the truth, because as you talk about the smart city, St. Elizabeth was more of a direct target for the hurricane because that's where they want to build the smart city. That's where they talk, that
Mhm.
region. So what happened is those people got, like I said, more destruction happened in those places, but the aid is a little bit like there's a holding on to the aid. The aid is coming in the country, but it's not going to the people. You see what I'm saying? So most of the people that got help in the St. Elizabeth region, they got help from TikTokers.
Mm.
So it
God
kind of
bless social media.
trust me, trust me. So there were many things happening also it started to be divided with political because the minds of the people are really in a poverty state like of thinking, so like say for example, we have a green party and an orange party, right? So if a group of people living in a certain village but they support the orange party, when aid comes in from the green party, they refuse even though they're in need. Yeah, I would have the same reaction too. So you're also dealing with that. But then what about people who are neutral between green and orange and they want the aid? You see what I'm saying? So there's also that part of it that's going on that people don't really know about. That aid is going in, people are refusing it because of political point of views as well. So that's another madness, right?
Wow.
Now, other things that came in like from other people are because, like I heard, I think it's Miami Heat or one of those, or Lakers, one of those basketball team gave like $1 million US, and you have many other organizations give a lot of money, but you're not really seeing the projects going out. You see what I'm saying? Like in the early stages after the hurricane, it's like they're sitting in the office trying to go on use pen and paper to see how things are going to be distributed when they should be physically on site. You see what I'm saying? Like in a case of a hurricane, what could be so important to be doing inside your office rather than to be on the actual site?
Hmm.
So generators came in, they're thinking about lending generators to business owners or so forth or whatever. Everything is but right now you're not hearing much of these things on social media anymore. Like I said, social media has a way of minimizing certain videos to go out to get certain views, so you're not really seeing much about what's going on down there unless you know somebody physically who's down there. So what happened is I have somebody down there that gives me information about what's going on inside. You see what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Because I didn't know there's a division based on political views when it comes down to aid. I don't see those things on social media. You see what I'm saying? So
Hmm.
we're dealing with all of that. But like I said, the government is still holding back on a lot of the aid. They're trying to they're trying to find ways to control. So people are still in need. You see what I'm saying? So
Yeah, I do. How are people doing? Are people being able to, is there famine? Are people able to survive, like regarding the devastation?
well, they started going in with foods, and like I said, the TikTokers they were doing that already. A lot of the
Okay.
TikTokers they went in early with a lot of stuff, and then
Mhm.
afterwards the government started to go in. They went in with helicopters and big trucks, but it's food. You see what I'm saying? But giving each person a package, a bag with like 6 pounds of flour, rice, sugar. That's not really. You see what I'm saying? They need to put the people on program. Like say, for example, if a certain village is destroyed from the hurricane, all the people should be put to work, and the government is there on site with the soldiers to distribute salaries. They work today, they work, they get whatever they need. You see, you have like a mobile kitchen. So while the
Hmm.
people are there working, there's breakfast being prepared, lunch. You can eat 3 times a day while you're cleaning up your own communities. You see what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I think the way they do things is very controlling, but also the artists, they like the celebrities, like there's a lady named Spice, and you have Masika and few other artists. They gave a lot of aid. Spice, she brought in a lot of materials to build houses. Shaggy,
Hmm.
I don't know what Shaggy did, but I know Shaggy Foundation was there in the early parts of the after the hurricane. So those people, they get help from those people a lot. But as for the government, it's kind of more controlling, like it's yeah.
Well, it sounds like that's the motivation of the government to have this control and have you like begging for a handout instead of providing information like how to restart like with the kitchen and or the farming or show them the way, right? Last time we talked, we were discussing how the knowledge is being stripped from the people of Jamaica and how they go to the store to get the GMO food that's not even from that country. I found that shocking, really. So, to back up to Hurricane Melissa, for people that don't know, Hurricane Melissa experienced what's called rapid intensification. It wasn't a category 5 or 6 storm as it went by Jamaica, and then it did this little like U-turn thing and had rapid intensification almost overnight, I believe. It became the strongest hurricane in the history of hurricanes, okay? And then it just happened to turn and target, like you said, Queen Elizabeth, where they're trying to clear out land. It's basically a land grab what they do here. They do it with fires, they do it with drought, they do it with hurricanes. We've seen it now in Lahaina, Maui, and I mean all over the world. We're seeing this happen. But the people that don't have the knowledge and the eyes to see, they think it's God or a natural disaster, natural disaster. People in the know, people that have taken the time to do the research, go down the rabbit hole, maybe watch my movie FrankenSKIES, check it out, FrankenSKIES.com. It's online for free. But you go back to Project Popeye or even in the 1920s when these patents already existed, and then you can realize that these weather events, they're engineered to create a problem to inevitably have the solution that is like this what dimming the sun or whatever the solution handed over will be like to counteract. I mean, they say it's because of carbon, so they'll restrict our access to like travel and stuff like that. But it's really, the global warming sham and climate change and all that. That's all a big lie. But at the end of the day, they're clearing out land so they can build their smart cities and push us into these smart cities and then say, you can't go 15 minutes is as far as you can go or whatever it may be to limit our travel and to control our sovereignty and what have you. So, what is it like in Jamaica right now with like the digital like the digital rollout? Is there a digital ID? Is there a digital currency right now?
They want to go down that road, but most of the people are already speaking against this digital system, but it's not really being enforced like where I'm at. It's not really being enforced. I don't see it anywhere. It's just like talks. It's not physically being enforced or pushing people that way as yet. But just
Okay.
to touch on what you just talked about a little bit about, manipulating things to take lands or causing droughts and so forth. Um, Saint Elizabeth, there's a cockpit country up there, and George Soros has been fighting for it. I don't know if you know about that. And you know who
Hmm.
George Soros is, but you know who George Soros is. So there's a
Yes,
war
I
with the
know who George
Maroons.
Soros is.
Everybody knows him. The Maroons and these type of people. But George Soros is behind it, so there's a war for the cockpit right now. So the attack on Saint Elizabeth was very strategic. So this way they can go and take the cockpit without any shots fired, meaning that once you get the people divided, because the king of the Maroon, he's gonna need aid. And yes, even though he gets aid from different tribes in Africa and other parts of Europe as well, but you're still dealing with like I said, a poverty minded mindset of people. So it's like they're when the government wants to go in, the Jamaican government wants to go in with the military to give aid, all the people can see is they're getting foods. They're not going to see how those very same foods is going to use to control them in the long run. So what happened
Hmm.
is that when the king of the Maroon says, no, we can take the aid. He's not refusing the aid. He was refusing the presence of the JDF in their territory. The people could not understand that because all they wanted was the food. So it caused a little division. So these type of behaviors now, what they do is they stir up, divide and conquer. So when
Hmm.
your people are divided, it's easy for them to intervene. You see what I'm saying? So it's just like what you see happening, like in Iran right now. There's a protesting thing there's a division. So it's like no, America can go in to be the police. You see what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So it's always the
Hmm.
same divide and conquer strategy. So afterwards, no, the king he accepted the JDF and the aid and all of that. So I don't know what transpired in terms of agreement, but that's basically what it is: divide and conquer, and yeah.
Well, and
So
at the
just
end of the day, you've got the IMF and the World Economic Forum, and they're basically run by the United States. And anytime like there's a disaster, these organizations step in and they act like they're trying to be nice by giving these loans. But at the end of the day, they make these loans predatory and they make it like impossible to pay back, basically. And at the end, then the International Monetary Fund or the World Economic Forum or whoever it may be, United States basically under some umbrella organization, they end up owning the infrastructure of your country, and they end up having you, enslaved financially. So what do you recommend? I know you have a TikTok channel and you go on every Sunday. Is that right?
well, after the hurricane, but I went on yesterday. But like I said, my page is being sabotaged right now. Like yesterday, because like yes, when you're getting the likes in the live, it brings up your page to the top.
Hmm.
The person on the panel was telling me that hey, she put the page to 10,000 likes, and then while we were talking, it was at 8,000. So how do you remove the likes? You see what I'm saying? So they are sabotaging my page. Like I have over 13,000 followers and so forth, but then when my videos go out or my lives, there's just like 5 people. So it's a
Hmm.
shadow ban. They are shadow ban my page after the hurricane Melissa. Because remember, after 3 days they took it down. 3 days the video went 3 million views. They took it down. I would not
Hmm.
know if somebody did not say to me that hey, your video went viral. I wouldn't have known because remember when I made the video the Monday, the hurricane came the Tuesday. We lost electricity and internet, everything. So somebody from Kingston told me that was what happened. You see what I'm saying? So
Amazing. So on your TikToks, what do you generally talk about on your channel? Like, do you speak to the people of Jamaica about how to like empower themselves? Like, what's the general theme of your
it's
videos?
okay. My thing is more about the awakening, what's happening. So people are
Mm,
awakening, which I teach more about embodying that presence, whatever people call it, there's a presence that we need to embody, and it has to go through proper knowledge. This is where you have to strip yourself of certain belief system that you learned in this society, and then you live to the purity that's inside there. There's a presence that is pure, and you embody that presence and everything that it comes with. So what I'm teaching is that how they talk about this global warming, and you see all these countries are dealing with global warming. For me, that's the narrative. They're not fighting against global warming, they're fighting against a global awakening. And the sun's energy, the grace from the sun has a lot to do with our personality. So what they're doing is inducing all these water. They're messing with the clouds because remember, we are electromagnetic beings. So there's an electric part of us and there's a magnetic part of us, right? So it's like dealing with the moon's energy, the magnetic field, the moon's energy, and the water deals with the emotions because I'm also into elements, right? And the sun's energy. So what happens is that they're altering even how our bodies use vitamin D's. So even the foods that you eat, you understand, even the physicality of going out, like you go on vacation. If you work all year and you go on vacation, you're gonna go into like a tropical area in the tropics to get the sun to reset your circadian rhythm and so forth, right? But you'll find out that there's something blocking that frequency. both internally and externally. You see what I'm saying? So the foods that you eat, what is it that you need to prevent people from absorbing the vitamin D? You need metals. So it goes back to your program where you talk about chemtrails, right?
Mhm.
So they're putting all these metals out in the atmosphere. So it's blocking the certain radiance from the sun that is emanating that you should be because it's a global awakening, it's a global consciousness. You see what I'm saying? So there's no such thing as a global warming. It's a global awakening that they're trying to fight against. This is why when there's certain conjunction with constellations, they want you to stay inside. I don't know if you remember
Mhm.
one that came in, I think it was 2018 or so. There's a conjunction between Jupiter and Saturn. They told everybody stay inside, stay inside. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, yeah. And
Wow.
even if you notice, I don't travel, but if you I think you might travel. You notice when you're passing the equator, everybody gets to shut the window. You never see what transpires.
Hmm. Really? Interesting.
Yeah, we talk to people who travel, and they'll tell you once it comes down to that region, because there are portals out there. I know most people
Hmm.
don't believe in portals are maybe because they put it in so many movies. It's just like, oh, it's a movie thing. These
Yeah.
are real. Portals are real. It's just like the sun. The sun, like every 3 months, every 3 moons, the sun goes through a different portal. So you have your seasons. Like right now, the sun just went through a portal. They call it the what's it, winter solstice, something like that.
Hmm.
Then,
Hmm.
after 3 moons, now the sun is gonna go back to a different portal where it goes 0 degrees east. That is where the new year starts, when the sun returns to the 0 degrees east. That's another portal. And this is why at that time of the year you see all the witches go out, the warlocks, they do all perform all their rituals, but also spiritual people, because it's the same time that you have to align with the cosmos. You align with your gods. And this is why a it was power, it was like a power movement to consolidate power to change times and laws. You understand?
Hmm.
So if I can change timing and your perception of time, I can change how you worship, I can change how you eat, I can change how you align yourself with the sun, I can change how you align with the moon. I can tamper with your electromagnetic field, and then that start to mess with your neurochemical pathways, so you cannot get to function to that awakening consciousness that should be taking place. So it goes back to the heavy metals that they're putting both in the foods and in the atmosphere. They call it global warming. I call it global awakening.
Amazing, and that's beautiful what you said. And while you're speaking, I had a couple things click. One of them is I never thought about, I have witnessed and upon the realization that as the consciousness rises, the chemtrails will come to dismantle and scatter the download codes from the sun and the moon and the conjunct planets and what have you to lower the vibrations. But I never thought about the energy from the sun and the celestials being embedded in the food that we then go eat. And so the food has less of that sun energy than it would if it wasn't being blocked. And then it has the heavy metals in it as well. But like the food is supposed to be rich with that absorbed sun. That's how we eat the sunlight, is through the fruit and the food. You know what I mean? I firmly believe that it is a war on consciousness. And that's like the big revelation that people are coming to slowly, but that's like the mass awakening. It's not about any of it really. It's not about war. It's not about any of all these things are distraction from the awakening that's supposed to be happening within us. And the collective is supposed to be having this rising of consciousness, and all these powers are trying to keep it quelled and buy themselves time to introduce transhumanism, where then they can really control the frequency in the people because they'll be like chips. Literally, they'll be able to control everyone because they'll have robotics inside them where they can control the frequency of the people and control the collective. And that's what the agenda with the smart cities is and all that. Like that's the end game, is to prevent like the ascension or the elevation of consciousness, or like the timeline, like we jump to the next highest timeline, whatever it may be. We're supposed to be going through an evolutionary process. I firmly see that. And I don't think they can stop it. You know, they can try to block it with aluminum. They'll spray in the skies different metals, and then they'll even zap the sky with like frequency to dismantle the downloads that are coming. And so there'll be a frequency in between us and the frequency we're supposed to be getting. But I don't think that they can stop it because it's ingrained in our DNA. It is like it's an unstoppable force. They can slow it down and try, their best, but still it's like innate. It's within us. And even just one person like having their download and having their heart start to open, it's contagious. And the whole world will change just from one person really finding that awakening. So I don't think that that can be stopped. And also it's in God's hands. And how are you gonna use aluminum, which is something from God? You know what I mean? And all this technology is still God. Everything is God. So how are you gonna use God's elements to try to prevent an ascension, an elevation of consciousness? That's all God's plan, all God's design. Like surely God has it all planned in the end. And so I do believe in like certain things like you ever heard of like Dolores Cannon and the first wave, second wave, third wave of like souls coming to Earth to help like lead the way, because there is a minority of us that are waking up. But why are we waking up early? Why are we the first people? And it's contagious for sure because it's happening rapidly. And the more they do things like lockdowns or whatever it may be, the more that people get to see that there's darkness. And when they see that there's darkness, they realize and know because we live in polarity and duality. And if you can actually see darkness, you'll know that there's also light. And which side of it are you on, light or dark? It's obvious that we're here for the light, to even be in service to the light because we are the light, right? And once you have that realization and epiphany that you're like on a mission kind of thing, that you're here to like help and then you can come into embodiment and have that self-remembrance. I'm learning a lot about like just trying to remember because we are eternal beings. We're souls having a human experience, and we do move on from this and continue after this body is gone. And once we realize how powerful we are as spiritual beings and why we're here to like lead the torch, to pass the torch on, lit to the next generation, the torch of truth. I think chemtrails actually, as far as like the vibration of truth, if you can start to wake up to the engineering of the weather and the engineering of consciousness and the war on consciousness through this lie. Like they want to convince people that climate change and global warming are real so that there's an excuse to spray the skies with these heavy metals so that they can slow down the consciousness rising, right? And by telling people that global warming and they need to dim the sun, then they can do it more and more and more. And maybe they'll even do like a fake solar flare. Like this has been in the news a lot. Like the Northern Lights, the Aurora Borealis, like the sun is getting really intense and we might need to like block the sun to save it from harming us or whatever. Like they're demonizing the sun, the bringer of life, like all that is good, it's crazy. But eventually they want to like try to really quell this awakening, it seems. But by doing that, they're going to show people that there is this battle of consciousness, and then people see the two sides and then know they have this remembering, right? Is how I see it coming. What do you think?
Well, you said quite a few things, but let me say something. Like you mentioned, because remember, you mentioned about polarity, right? So I'm going to talk about like what we call a Godhead. So you have knowledge, you have understanding, and you have wisdom, right? That's one side of it. Now it's polarity. The polar opposite of knowledge is deception. You understand what I'm saying? So just as knowledge is increasing in these days, deception is increasing with it.
Mm.
It's what I'm saying. You have
Hmm.
understanding. The opposite of understanding is like ignorance. And then you have
Mm.
wisdom. Wisdom is that wisdom follows a law of nature. You see what I'm saying? The opposite of that is disobedience. So it's just like if you're gonna do agriculture, and I said, okay, cut the grass, then you plow up the land, then you wet the soil, then you put your seed in it. That's a law to grow your crops. If you choose to put the seeds in first, then cut the grass after, you see, you're disrupting, you're disobedient. You're disrupting the law of nature, so it cannot manifest the results that you should be getting.
Hmm.
So everything over this side they have their polar opposites. You see what I'm saying? So that's what we're living in right now. So you mentioned about the war versus dark and light. You see, everything has evolved. So it's no more between dark and light because guess what? It's easy to discern between dark and light. It has been evolved. So you know what? It's now light versus light. How do you discern? You see what I'm saying? So even
Mm,
things that you call the dark side it does not appear as dark anymore. It takes on the form of light. So how do you
hmm
discern between light versus light? So this is why even though there's an awakening, there's a blindness. You understand?
hmm
So it gets darker. So you mentioned earlier about they're buying time. Yes, this is every time they do something, it gives them more time. As you said, they cannot stop it, but they can delay the prophecy. You see what I'm
hmm
saying? So right. So that's basically what they're doing. Like the move that they make in Venezuela right now, we see an empire that's on the verge of collapsing, right? Because everybody's gonna be trading oil in their own currency now. Your currency is not going to be that thing that everybody needs to hold in their country anymore. So what do? You need to get some free oil. So taking Venezuela right now is going to give your empire 2 more years, because if Saudi and China, you know about Project Enbridge, right? So is where right. So they're cutting out America. They can do transaction directly with each other without having to do anything with US dollars. So
hmm
imagine that's going on right now. What is petrodollar?
Right.
The company is just running the empire is just running off an illusion. So this move
Mm,
in Venezuela is just buying more time, and that's all it needs. Because if they can do this and then by 2 years, they can do another move in 2 years time, and they get another 5 years. They're delaying prophecy. They cannot stop it,
hmm
because eventually the system is going to collapse. The banking is going to collapse eventually. You see what I'm saying? Because once people realize that, oh, this banking, this empire is not safe anymore for me to invest in or put my money into, everybody's gonna pull away their monies.
hmm
So that country, that empire cannot create any more debt. They cannot create more deficit. They cannot do any of these things. So the banking system is gonna fail. And once the banking system fails, that's it. Just like all the empires from ancient days, before there's a physical overpowering or conquering, there's always an internal collapse with the economy. From ancient Egypt come all the way up. It's always the same. The system is designed to break itself. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, let's
So
bring it. I'm all about bringing back the barter system, localized currencies, like people getting sustainable through community resilience and just like focusing on what you have, where you're at, and not we don't need to be importing things from got like there's I get apples in my store from South America. Meanwhile, there's apple trees. There's farms right down the street. It just doesn't make any sense. Like we need to be focusing locally and doing what we can with what we have. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I want to say one thing.
no, no, that's okay.
You said there's light versus false light, and
Hmm.
that really hit home. Um, I see what we're going through right now as a process. Oh wow! Before we started the show, I told you I was born in 1980, and we started talking about the old times and how we're the ones on that cusp, like you and I, and this like little generation from like 1980, 1989. I think you said we're
Yeah.
from this cusp where we know what it's like the old ways and the new ways so we can see both sides and we have this remembrance of both and we can show people the way back to community the way things were but really quick the light versus the light what I see happening right now with AI especially so AI is muddying the waters and you show somebody something like a chemtrail footage like look what this video I got in the sky yesterday look at all this videographic evidence of this ongoing treason in our skies now people can look at it and just dismiss it. Oh, how do I know that's not AI? They can just dismiss anything, right? They don't have to even think anymore. Oh, that's probably AI. Who knows? I don't even know anymore. I can just be ignorant, right? But then there's a different breed of people who are learning how to discern. There's this learning, this remembrance of discernment. It comes from the gut and the heart. It's not even the head in my experience. It's like getting out of the head and thinking with your heart and your gut, which seems counterintuitive to think with your heart and your gut, but that's where the discernment, and when you learn to discern, the truth is obvious. It's a feeling. The truth is a frequency, and the lies, they're very obvious. They're a gross knot in your stomach, and they're a feeling, and you don't even have to look when you really can embody this, you don't even have to look to remember and see if something is true or not. So yeah, we're gonna have real, false, false, real, light, light, but eventually I think it'll help us in our evolution of consciousness to come into that true discernment, which is like outside of our head and our programming, because the mind has been programmed and there's mind control throughout ever since birth, but we can dismantle that and come into our remembering of soul, really, our
Self.
spirit.
Yeah. Right, right.
Self.
Remembering the self. Right, right, right.
Yeah.
That's a good what you just said.
Thank
Yeah.
you. So also, I wanted to, because we're going to make this show pretty short so that people will listen. I know the attention span of people is, no offense to
ADHD.
everybody. Yeah, you keep it under an hour and people will be like, oh, nice. If it's over an hour, people are like, what? Oh, I gotta spend all this time. So the last time we talked, I made a note. It says Revelation 12. Tell me, do you remember that, what we talked about then?
Yeah, I think
The
so. Revelation.
contractions.
Yeah. The birth pains and so forth. So all of these little things that you see happening, they are the contractions, this little event popping up here, there, there. So, it's coming closer to that time. You understand? But it also, the contractions have also another side effect. You see what I'm saying? So each time there's a contraction, also it buys it goes back to what you said, they buy time. So when this empire, the first time they bought time was COVID. When COVID came, America came back on top. You see what I'm saying? No, 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 this Venezuelan attack, they come back on top. You see what I'm saying? All of these little things, but also these are landmarks, these are timelines for us. As you said, for the awakening beings, these are timelines. So we don't care about, oh, America is on top again because they have free oil. You see what I'm saying? No, we
Mhm.
understand, hey, it's getting closer. The baby just moved one centimeter down. You see what I'm saying? So yeah,
And the baby is the awakening?
right. So the
Mm.
difference with this time and in ancient time is in the ancient days, they could go around and slew physical babies under 2 years because they know at that time, back then, they know that it is somebody who's going to be born, some people who are going to be born, and they have to be born within, like we said in 1980 to 1989,
Hmm.
that 10-year period, every decade there's a change, every 30 years there's a major change in each individual's life, so they can't just target certain people again in certain areas because this is a global awakening. But guess how
Hmm.
you target them now? How would you target them in this day and age? Chemtrail,
Hmm.
putting metals in their foods. You understand? So it doesn't matter if a person is not out in the city and wherever they are, and this what they do with the seeds as well. Because let me tell you, remember I'm a farmer. What they do with the seeds, when you buy seeds from like Monsanto, whatever the name is, when you put their seeds in your soil, the seed itself is poison. So what it does, it sucks the minerals from your soil. So even if you might be planting banana, you'll be eating banana all year, you're still short on potassium because you didn't
Mm.
realize that you put an agent. Those seeds are their agents. So as much as you have all your animals and your land to rejuvenate the soil, those seeds are taken away from it. So it's just like foods, like we're talking about, right? The body needs electrolytes, but they're putting all these things in it. So what happens now when the electrolytes goes into your bloodstream? All the things that it can cause. The body, electrolytes is essential for the body, but when it gets into the bloodstream, now your balance is off. Like you mentioned about God, God is a balance. You understand? But when there's too much, your balance is off, and when there's too little, it's still off. So you can be drinking water, but because of excess electrolyte, you're thirsty. You're dying of dehydration. You see what I'm saying? So
Hmm.
everything's about maintaining a balance. So we need to stay in that balance. Yeah.
I do. So earlier you said that regarding the digital city that people in Jamaica are talking and they're pretty much saying they don't want it and they're saying no because the voices are spreading and the truth is spreading. Are the people of Jamaica overall waking up to like weather engineering or Hurricane Melissa or the farming? Do you have a lot of friends that are wanting to withdraw from the system and break away from the government or how's it going?
All right. This is what I'm saying. We have a new religion right now in this world, and it's called fear. So this goes back to what we just talked about with false light and real light. So I'm gonna make the discernment now. Real light deals with embodiment. So yes, you're gonna see a lot of people because of this the lot of information on the internet. Everybody's seeing and hearing the same things over and over, and they're gonna feel connected at the ego level, meaning at the intellectual level, but the soul is not there. So
Mm,
even though they can see what's happening and the importance of farming and, as you said, bartering, they are not embodying that. So they are not going to take any seeds and put in the earth. Is a
mm,
false light. They is like, you know what they always talk about with the Pharisees. It's like they know what to do, but they just don't do what they know to do. That's false
mm,
light. So it's like the difference. I'm differentiating between a wise man and a smart man. A smart man knows what to do, meaning I can tell you smoking is bad for your health. But a wise man, he can tell you that, and he himself does not smoke. The smart
mhm,
man will still smoke, but he will tell you that it's bad for your health. So
mhm.
that's like the false light and the real light. They're gonna sound smart. They're just not gonna embody what they're telling you. So as for moving towards farming, we are still being looked down upon doing the farming because people are out there moving in the corporate world, passing by. But then at the end of the day, if the Chinese should close their warehouses and their storehouses or whatever, supermarkets, these people are hungry. Like you saw what happened in St. Elizabeth, one hurricane, and the day after the hurricane, people are dying for hunger. You see what
Mm.
I'm saying? There's no storage of foods like, okay, you're planting seeds. Seeds you can store for long periods of time. Nobody is digging up places to say, okay, in case the hurricane, what can I build to store my seeds so that means I don't go hungry? People don't know survival. Like after the hurricane, a lot of people were crying out for hunger. This is why they were so dependent on the government. But in natural surviving, right? Because the mind is built for matter. It teaches you to survive whether you have knowledge or experience. After a hurricane, the first place you go is the river because that's where all the foods are going to be. Why the hell are you going to be up in your area, village area, waiting for aid to come in? What if the roads are cut off? What if bridges are cut off? You have to find a river. That's the natural thing that everybody should know. People don't know
Mhm.
these things because what? This empire have built the people and being dependent. I can be making a lot of money, but I'm dependent. You see what I'm saying? So it takes away their ability, and this is also why this empire is falling so much, even militarily, because guess what? They had all back in the days, they had all the tradesmen to work, the welders, people to build this, build ships, build. You remember in World War II, one of the things that gave America the advantage was their productivity. They flew past
Mm.
Germany in terms of productive, I mean, building war tankers, fighter jets, and all of these things. Look at America today. They can hardly replace a warship if it sinks. You see what I'm
Mhm.
saying? China can replace three ships in one day, in 1 month. You right now, if America should go back into producing into productivity, they can't get people because all of those welders and those tradesmen they are now retired. The younger generation, the younger men, they're putting nails on their thing, they're putting lips, they're doing. You see what I'm saying? No,
Yes, I do. I see it. I witness it actually.
right, because you see, even back then with like, I don't know if I can say this word, but men that go with men, you see what I'm saying? They
Hmm.
were still masculine to go into the military too. They can fire heavy artillery, they can do things on the ground, they can combat. But the type of men that America create today, oh, eh, you see what I'm
Hmm.
saying? They can't defend anything.
We call him
So
soy boy. Soy boy is the word.
soy boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Because
So
soy
they
has so much estrogen, because soy has all the estrogen in it, you know? Yeah.
yeah. It goes back to the food. Like I said, you see all the children now they're growing breasts. The boys they're growing breasts, with all these soybean products, and it's crazy with the foods. People don't see how it's doing, what it's doing to them. You know, it's messing with
Hmm.
estrogen. It's giving men more estrogen. And even with the women, they don't see like with the foods, the chickens and so forth, with all the vaccine, it's messing with their hormones.
Yeah,
It's,
it's
it's, it's
insane.
just crazy, the foods. So there are many ways that they're manipulating our consciousness through the foods because remember, people who have a plant-based diet are more conscious than people who eat meats. You see what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Because with the meats, it has to do a lot with how people, what do you call it, slaughter these foods. You see
Hmm.
what I'm saying? So there's a method to slaughtering. You don't like, for example, I grew up back in the days where you have to go after the roosters to get your Sunday dinner. When you want to eat chicken, we'd have to be chasing these things or set the traps, the slip knot or the feed, and when the chicken goes, the fowl goes inside, we pull the rope. But we used to chase them as well. But We did not know that, hey, the blood is going up, the adrenaline is going up. So when we get the chickens while the adrenaline is going up and you slaughter them, all of that goes out in the rest of the body. And then you go and eat it, you're consuming all of those hormones. So the way that you slaughter your animals is very important. This is why you see in our traditions, like when you're gonna slaughter for for the Passover and so forth, 4 days before you slaughter the animal, you have to put them into a separate area. So that means when it's time to slaughter, they're just calm in that space and you just take them. You're not running
Mhm.
down the goat or the sheep you see what I'm saying?
I do.
So people who have a plant-based diet, they are more conscious to consciousness itself. Because the food is what turns blood in the body. And if the blood is altered, like I said, with the adrenaline from how an animal is slaughtered, or with all the metals in the food, which they're doing a lot of that, they're putting metals in the food. So they're getting you one way or the other. It doesn't matter how conscious you are. One way or the other, they're getting you. You understand what I'm saying?
I do.
Yeah.
Very much so. The awakening is a way of life, and we have to lead by example, especially for the next generation. We can't just talk about it. We have to show them the way and show them that it's doable and that it's actually like abundant and fun and grounding and all these things. Like showing, it's one of my favorite things to do is to show the children like how to forage food and how to grow food and how to like take care of yourself and understand the cycle of the seed and all these things. I had met a 13-year-old who didn't know that the pumpkin seed would make more pumpkins if you put it in the ground. She said, "No, the pumpkins come from the store. Pumpkins come from the store, Matt." And I go, "No, you can make a bunch with this seed." And she's like, "No, no, you're crazy." So it's important for us to embody this sacred knowledge and pass it on to the next generation because that's why we're here. And
Right. Because,
yeah, go ahead.
sorry, sorry, go ahead. No, no, you go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was going to say with that we can close out, but I want to hear what you have to say.
Okay, okay, no problem. I was just gonna say, it ties back with something you said earlier. Was just gonna say, people with the more knowledge going, or let me say information, with the more knowledge going out, people are becoming more dumbed down. You see what I'm saying? Because
Hmm.
remember, education, real education is not dumping a lot of knowledge on people. It's removing the darkness. You see what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So, like as you
Hmm.
mentioned, with all of these tons of information, people is like, oh, it could be AI, whatever. What happened is we have been demoralized. And you know what happens to the psyche when a person is demoralized? It means that reality is not real anymore. You
Hmm.
understand? That's what demoralization is, and this is a process. This is why they try to send children to school from as early as even 4 years. People are sending their kids to school before they even potty train. Like, what the hell is this? So
Hmm.
imagine if I get your child's brain at 4 years old, you know what I can do with that child? I can make
Hmm.
him in my own image. I can
Yep.
turn him against you. You understand? I can cause him to start think that you're dunce. I can cause him to start think that you're stupid for concerning about chemtrails. Just like you said, the child is saying, Matt, you must be stupid to think that pumpkin comes from a seed. You see what I'm saying?
Hmm.
That's demoralization. So
Yep.
yeah, that's it.
No, it's true. I think we're in a process of forgetting. We have to deprogram and unlearn. We're in an unlearning process. So as beings of frequency, we it's very important what we believe to be true. Even the word believe, it has the word lie in the middle of it. And as you know about word magic and understand, overstand, and all this, I know the Rastas know a lot about this, so I'm sure you're very aware. The words have been hijacked as well. Like from every angle, we're getting hit because they fear our potential. So we're under attack from every angle because where we are so powerful. But we have to go through a process of unlearning because as beings of frequency, when we believe all these falsehoods, like these lies, like from the age of 4 or 5 or whenever we start getting the programming, we believe all these lies. And as beings of frequency, our resonance is kept low by believing all these lies. But then if we dismantle the lies and believe the truth and resonate with the truth and know what's true and shed these falsehoods, we can elevate our frequency, elevate our consciousness, and reside in knowing. And there's higher truths, more truths. Truths become self-evident, and the lies can't even take seed in our consciousness because we're in such a higher vibratory state. So I think we're all going through this process in our own way. Some people have to go and see the darkness and see how ridiculous it is. And then finally, they'll be coming to us asking how to plant seeds again and whatnot. But it's the old way is going to come back because it is the way of the light of life. And so, especially for the next generation, I can't stress it enough how thankful I am for you for honoring the way and showing the way to the people in your community regarding farming and consciousness and your Sunday TikToks and doing what you can to get it out there. And I know there's censorship, but you never know what people are getting it and re-uploading it and stuff like that. You just have to keep putting it out there. Like even though it says to whatever 800 or whatever, like it's the number's always bigger. And as long as you keep trying and keep doing your thing, it's going to leak through the cracks, just like it did with that hurricane video, Melissa. Imagine the impact that you had on with just that. And then this as well, and then all the other things that you do. I think it's a balance of doing things in the real world, doing things online, not being all the time online, and honoring, the physical world as well, because we're here to live in both worlds and show that just like coming from the 80s that we can play both parts. We know what it's like to wait for a television show and to rewind it, whatever. We know what it's like to have these physical things, but we can also merge realities and bring it all to light, showing people both sides that there's the old way that needs to be missed and the new way that's merging with it. We can do it in a balanced fashion while we have remembrance of ourselves. So please, people, find Andrew online on YouTube and on his TikTok,
So,
Cosmic Royalty on TikTok, Cosmic Royalty 111, and be sure to share his stuff, share this video. Do you have anything that you want to say before we close out?
no, I just want to say I appreciate being on your platform and coming across you as well,
Yeah,
and hope
for
the message
sure.
reaches to the ears that it needs to reach and so forth.
Yeah, well, I know that there's always like a higher um, there's always a plan that God has. And so if we put it out there and play our part, then I believe that spirit shows it to the right people. I believe that with the stickers I put up, with the posters I put up, with the podcasts I do. I believe it with everything that I do that it'll be shown to the right people because by putting it out there, I'm giving spirit the opportunity to help guide people to it. So I appreciate you, and I look forward to doing more things in the future, interviews and whatnot, and getting to know you better. And I appreciate the light that you bring to the world, Andrew. So thank you.
Likewise, all right. Have a good day.
You too. Peace.